Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Five Star Revolution podcast with your host, CJ Price. We want to thank all of you for subscribing to our YouTube channel, Five Star Revolution Podcast. And if you haven't already, subscribe right now to the Five Star Revolution Podcast. And also go over to our Facebook page, Five Star Revolution Podcast, because I'm giving away a $100 Visa gift card to one lucky winner if we reach 1,000 likes. So get to it. Tonight, we have a very special guest, someone who was featured on AEW Dark just recently, and his name is Cyrus. How you doing tonight, sir?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight on the Five Star Revolution podcast. We really appreciate it. And I'm going to ask you a question that I ask everyone that comes on my podcast is if you were a fan as a little kid or did you just get into professional wrestling when you were an adult?
Man, I was a fan as a little kid, honestly. Like watching the Undertaker and Yokozuna casket match. It's kind of what sunk me in. And then, you find greats like the Tugboat and Vader, of course, and Bam Bam Bigelow, Abdullah the Butcher. The big guys, of course. I was just always a fan of them.
So who was your favorite wrestler growing up?
That definitely would have been Undertaker. For real. Like after you watch him and Yokozuna in the casket match, and it was pretty amazing.
So, what made you get into the professional wrestling business? Like, what went through your head? Was like, oh, I can do that, or was that always a dream of yours?
Well, I always had the dream for it, but like football, like played football a ton. So I was playing semi-pro football, and had a guy come up to me one day and said, "You ever thought about wrestling?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, but I don't know how to get into it." And they're like, "Well, a guy your size, we'll train you for free. We'll bring you in and work with you and show you some things." So once I did that, I was very fortunate to across a lot of people and and learn the craft of wrestling.
So, who did you initially start training with?
I started training with a company out of Chattanooga, Tennessee called UEW. Robbie Griffin owned it. Um, I got to train with Ted Allen and Big Wood Lumberjack. These were really old school guys, 80s, 90s, and stuff. So when I got to start working with them, it was kind of old school with new school. So I was very fortunate to be able to be in their presence and work with them for them to show me.
Do you remember your first match?
Yeah, it was horrible.
Can you tell us about that? What you learned from that experience?
Yeah, I learned one, not to be nervous coming out of the curtain as bad as I was. Uh, two, you know, uh, you got to figure out how to tell a story. I was pretty much on my back the entire match. Like, because I didn't know. Like, everybody, they were short on guys, and, I was one of those guys that were like, "Hey, we'll bring you in, we'll take care of you and see what we can get going." And I was like, "All right, sounds good." So we'd done that, and after that, I was like, "Wow, that was fun times."
So, how long you been in the business now?
I've been in it 13 years now.
So, what would you say to that 1 year, that first match guy that you're 13 years in the business? What would you say to that guy now today?
Just breathe, just breathe, and go out there and do it. Like I've been taught so much over the years. It's that's one of the biggest things is just breathe.
So, 13 years in the business, I'm imagining that you've shared locker rooms with veterans and legends that are well known. Have you learned or asked any of those legends or veterans for advice?
Oh yeah, definitely, and even from my peers. After I get done with the match, when I go to the back, I'm not like what looked good or anything. You can tell me everything's great, but still I'm gonna say, what did I do wrong? And that's what I learned from veterans, because there's always something to work on in wrestling. Um, you can't go out and have the perfect match. There's something that, and you got to have that drive. You got to push for that perfect match, even though we might not accomplish it or anything like that. But still, I'm gun ho on that. Everything seems to go right, but there's probably something I messed up on. But I'm my world's own worst critic. I beat myself up, and I just I think that's I don't know. I think that's why I thrive in it, because I know.
What would you say is your best match in your career that stands out in your head?
Yeah. I think this would be indies. Like I ran a stint with a smaller wrestler like David Goliath, and we did a thing for about 6 months, and then finally come up to the time on the story for him to go over. And the way the adrenaline was in the crowd, and like, because everything built up to it, and you could tell people were excited to see me lose. And I think that was like one of my best. Um, but then also I've had great matches with Kyle Matthews. It's one of the top notch guys out there. Um, he just he knows what to do. He knows how to tell a story as well. So, but I would say with it was a guy named Tort and stuff, that was probably one of my best, in my opinion.
So, besides the big times like WWE, AEW, are there any indie promotions out there that you have your eye on that you want to debut at?
Actually, I'm in talks right now with All Japan Wrestling. That'll be my third tour back to Japan. So I'm waiting to see. I've been talking with one of the presidents of the company, and they're supposed to be having a meeting tomorrow. And well, it'll actually be today at some point their time. uh, but and they're supposed to send me more details. So they're wanting me to come for 3 months to Japan, and we'll get to see what happens there.
So, you wrestled pretty much across the country.
Hmm.
Wrestling in the United States and wrestling in Japan, I'm imagining as two different animals. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Well, first of all, it's a language barrier. Like, the way you plan the stuff out and all. Um, I mean, the respect in the locker room, it's the same. I I would say the crowds are different. Like, we're here in the U.S. You get in the crowd and you get them going. That you hear the boos and the cheers. In Japan, it's like you hear the hand claps and stuff. Like, they applaud the performance and stuff, and that's how you're doing good. You're doing well, is when they do that. Or if you do get them to be like, oh, that's pretty big. It's kind of compared to here in the U.S. when you get people saying "holy crap" or uh, they're 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 typical words and stuff. And that's when you got the crowd. So, um, I, for me, most of the part, it's the language barrier. I couldn't really put one over the other, honestly. They have both their styles, and I love it. Um, I love Japanese wrestling. I love American wrestling. Japanese, they tear towards more guys that look like or as big like Vader and Abdullah the Butcher was and stuff. Like, they love them. And in the U.S., sometimes they gear towards more guys that are just cut and uh, and built and stuff. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just you got to be able to get into the. I always tell everyone there comes a time of a calling, and you got to be in the right place at the right time. It's kind of like you find the perfect job, and but at the time someone's already got your position, that you're wanting. Well, you have to wait for that, and when that time comes, you grasp it. That's kind of like what I did for the AEW, and my time finally came where I could go in there and show them what I could do.
So piggybacking on that, I was going to ask you about that. How did you get the call from AEW, and how was that experience on AEW Dark?
Um, uh, QT Marshall sent me a message one day, and he said, "Hey, we could use you on such and such date in June and stuff." And I was like, "Okay, I'd be happy to come." And so everything got worked out and all that, and I got down to Jacksonville, did the testing, and they told me, "Hey, we're gonna have you go against Sarzo, I'm sorry, Caesar, and Cesar. I'm so sorry. I'm horrible with
Cesar Bononi.
pronunciation sometimes. Yes, and I'm so sorry. I'm horrible with pronunciation. But I was like, okay, and we were able to go out there and do our thing, and it was, I had a lot of people tell me it was a great match and all that, and I've went back and I watched it countless times, and I still know there's some things that I could improve on.
Did you get invited back?
I did. I did.
Nice.
Um, I've went back a couple times, and then I'm supposed to be. I go back next week.
Very nice. So where can we see that? Is it on YouTube at AEW Dark again?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It'll be on YouTube next week. Well, I'm not positive. We'll do the tapings, and then we'll be on it and all that. So should be good. But it will be on AEW Dark again. So I'm just I'm biding my time, and I'm just going to show what I got. I'm going to prove myself to everyone. So,
So in your 13-year career, I'm imagining that you played both face and heel. What's your favorite to do?
heel for sure.
Why
But
is
even
that?
though I just heels have more fun. I mean, I guess heels. When you think about wrestling, heels are more of the general of the match. They come in and there's a lot of pressure on heels. Like if you're going against a younger baby face or someone that's new, there's that time to tell them, hey, you got to keep on me, fight back, fight back, and it's like preaching that to them to get it going. And Hills really set a tempo in the match. You get a dude in there and you get them going, and it's something that I've always preached to other people that want to be heels and stuff. When you go out to a show, you don't downgrade the audience. Like you don't point one person out and say, "Hey, you're ugly, you're fat, whatever." It's no, I do it with being cocky and then smiling at them and just smirking and clapping with them, saying saying it doesn't work, and that gets people going. Like people love to hate you. I've been told that plenty of times. Like people come up to me and like, man, I'm not even a fan of wrestling, but what you did out there, you got me involved. Like, man, I really hated you at that moment, and it feels good. Like so, and now I'm running into the problem of being a heel, but people want to cheer me, and it's like, well, okay, I'll take it, but I still don't change my ways.
So you're the cool heel.
Yeah, the cool heel. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
I get
because
that.
yeah.
So, 13 years in the business, I'm sure you've seen a lot of things in your career. How do
Hmm.
you deal with backstage politics?
I don't deal with politics. I I'll tell you on any indie circuit, anything, anybody booking me, I tell everyone, I'm like, if you got drama, you leave me out of it. I come, I'm going to put on the show for you for the fans. I'm going to do my match. I'm not getting in the middle of anything on politics, and that's what I tell everyone. I'm like, I'm straightforward. I'm here for wrestling. I'm not here for politics or anything like that. Because at the end of the day, we're out there to perform. Some may have egos, some don't, and all that. But at the end of the day, I'm done. No politics. I think I told two promoters one time that we're going at it, and they were both like trying to call me and talk to me, and I said, "Man, I want to be honest with both of you. Y'all can use me, all that. I'm fine, but I could care less if y'all go out in the alley and y'all just swing until y'all can't swing anymore. I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to be with either one of you. But if you want me to wrestle, I'll come and I'll wrestle."
I love
so,
that, man.
so I mean, like, and that's what I try to preach to everyone. Don't get into the politics. Like, I mean, there's always going to be politics with money, of course, but you can still be that guy and say, no, that ain't for me.
So, what would you say is the hardest part of being a pro wrestler?
uh, let's see, travel. If you have a family or anything like that, that's one of the hardest parts. Or don't beat yourself up when stuff ain't don't seem like it's working out for you or anything. Just keep pushing, keep pushing. Eventually, if you're determined enough and you put in the work, things will happen for you. And fortunately, that's something that was big for me. And uh, it's trying to get your name out there. That's a really big thing. And once you can get your name out there, like there's different ways, but and if there's anything I could tell any wrestler, indie worker, anything, your social media, keep it professional. Don't invite people into your personal life because then you're just inviting in everybody that wants to talk negative or positive about you, either way. But keep it out of it.
I totally agree, man. You should keep your personal life and your professional wrestling life totally separate. I totally
Oh
agree.
yeah, I've even told people like when my wrestling career's over, no one will ever see me on social media again. I'm legit deleting every bit of it, and I'm done. Like, but it's just the way I am on that.
So, for those people that don't know who Cyrus is or the Cyrus character, can you explain a little bit of who Cyrus is?
Yeah, the Cyrus character is more of a kind of like not deranged, but a monster that's kind of psychotic and enjoys inflicting pain on people. I think he would take it through a Vader slash Bam Bam kind of scenario. Like if I've been told if Vader and Bam Bam had a son, it would be me. And I'm like, fair enough. But that's really the character, the intensity, like the facials that I can give, and like really make people believe, oh, he's mad, and and that's really my big thing is the monster, because people call me Cyrus the Destroyer, and it's because I love that angle, I love that gimmick,
So you
something
love
kind of unique.
so you love inflicting pain on people. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we could say that, yeah. So,
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. I'm glad I'm retired. I will never get in the
right?
ring with you because you seem like a big dude. So,
Yeah,
okay.
I have fun with it.
My next question for you, Mr. Cyrus, is if there's one thing that you learned as a professional wrestler, how do you carry that on to your personal life?
Separate reality from imagination. That's really what it's about. Like that's what I do. I I don't know really how to explain it, but I mean, in my opinion, it's you know
So what you're
imagination
saying
and
is,
relation.
so what you're saying is your professional wrestling life is your professional wrestling life. Keep that away from your personal
Hmm.
life and just one thing at a
Yeah,
time.
yeah. It's like even when I was working shoot jobs and stuff, I even tell people like I know our personal lives are hard and stuff, but when we come to that door, we need to be ready to work. We we put it in our invisible backpack, as I say. You zip it up, you drop it off at the door, and then you pick it up on your way back out. Because other people are counting on you, and it's more of a team basis there. So that's a big thing that I believe in.
And I'm assuming that you have that same philosophy in professional wrestling.
I do.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's good.
I can tell you that I've been in the ring with guys that I do not particularly like or anything like that. But at the end of the day, I kept it professional because I was brought in to do a show, not express my personal feelings on that person, but to go out there and put on a show because the promoter wanted us to have a good match. And that's what I did. And I've even told the guys that I didn't care much for, like, hey, when we go out there, we're professionals. We're going to go out there, we're going to take care of each other. We're going to put on a good show. And then after we leave here, we're still where we're at. But that's just a strong belief of mine.
So, what do you say to those critics and those fans that think wrestling's fake?
Yeah. You know, I've had plenty of people say wrestling was fake, and I told them to get in the ring for a training seminar, and they've came, they got in the ring, uh, legit, not even lying. They maybe lasted 30 minutes, and that's a lot of me talking, and then they realize that a 350-pound man is moving just as quick as them and keeping up with them. And they're like, oh crap. And then I'm telling you to bump and all that. And you're doing that, hitting the back of your head, hurting. And you're like, man, that mat's not as soft as I thought. And I'm like, it's not. Because, I've been horribly fortunate enough. Uh, I've been in rings where the dude literally had the just carpet padding, like it was a quarter-inch carpet padding on 2x8s, and that was it. And I remember the first time I hit it, I was like, "Oh God, no!" And then you had to go with it.
Wow, man,
but
that's crazy.
to anyone that thinks that wrestling's fake and all that, I pretty much say, it's not fake. There's real stuff. I've had staples in my head. I had to have a bicep replaced. Well, pulled back down and attached to my forearm. I've had a dislocator. So it's not fake. I've had stitches in my eye. It's no, it happens. The outcome might be predetermined, but in there, it, I'll tell you. Funny story in Japan. When I chop, Japan loves chops. So I was on my second match in Japan, and the guy chopped me, and I came and chopped him back, and I chopped him about 6 times. And I chopped him one time, and I looked at him, and I gave him one more chop, and he went down. And on my third match, they looked at me and said, "Sorry, son, you're good at more chops. We won't chop you." I was just like, okay,
Well,
just
I've
letting people.
I've seen Japan
Go ahead.
wrestling, and they seem very stiff when they hit each other. So yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah, it's their strong style, and what that means, like what I've learned in Japan, it's the art of making it look as real as possible without actually hurting a guy.
Yes.
That's the belief, and I love it because like a lot of people hear strong style, and well, that means they just beat the crap out of you. I'll beat the crap out of each other. I'm like, no, no, it's not, or you would see a lot more injuries. So,
So my last question for you, Mr. Cyrus, is what can we expect out of you in the next 3 years?
hmm. Well, one, like I know a lot of people ain't religious, but whatever the good Lord wills to me first. But you're seeing me rise, seriously, whether it be here in America, Japan, UK, Ireland, places, you're going to see a big rise. I think I'm definitely going to become a household name.
Well, Mr. Cyrus, we thank you so much for joining us here tonight on the Five Star Revolution podcast. And
Yes,
I just
sir.
want to know, and I'm sure most of the fans watching this wants to know, where can we find Mr. Cyrus on social media?
Instagram, the Monster Cyrus. Twitter's at the Monster Cyrus. Facebook, Cyrus McCord. TikTok is even Cyrus, Monster Cyrus on TikTok. So just look me up, find me, follow me, give me anything you can. I'm here.
Well, Mr. Cyrus, we enjoyed all of your stories. We enjoyed the time. We appreciate you. We wish you the best of luck in your career. And for all you fans watching, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, 5-Star Revolution Podcast, and share and like our Facebook page, 5-Star Revolution Podcast. Thank you, Mr. Cyrus. I hope you have a great night.
Yes, sir. You too.